Welcome to the Proven Principles podcast by Knowing Hospitality, the show that deconstructs and demystifies the inner workings of the hotel industry. Here's your host, Adam Knight.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. My guest today is Antonio Pibia. He's the founder of GuestXInside, an Amsterdam-based hotel consulting and training company, but he also happens to be a body language expert. And I asked him on the show today to talk about customer journeys within hotels. So more specifically, what's missing and how hotels can add value back into the guest experience. You know, so much has been taken away from us during this pandemic time. So I think it's beneficial to start talking about what can we add back in to make sure that people have great experiences, because ultimately this is the thing that's going to make sure hotels are set up for success and can launch out of this pandemic one day when it's finally over, hopefully ahead of their competition. So we cover a lot of ground on the show today. So rather than preambling too much, we'll just get right to the show. But before we do, if you haven't had a chance to leave a review or a rating, I'd really appreciate if you just hopped over into your podcast app and did that. It just helps us get more listeners and produce better content. And that's really what this is all about. I want to make sure that the content that's coming out in this podcast, you're finding valuable and actionable in your day-to-day life in a hotel. So the best way to do that is leave a review and a rating just to help other people find the show. So enough about that. Let's just get right to the show here. We've got Antonio Pibia, founder of GuestXInside, talking about creating memorable customer journeys. Enjoy. It's great to have you on the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Adam. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show, and hi everyone. It's great to be here. It's an honor actually for me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to connect to talk a little bit about what you're doing, but I don't want to get into too much of that right out of the gate. We got a full show ahead of us. So rather than leading everybody into what you do, let's talk about kind of where you started. Where are you from? What are you doing with GuestXInside? How did it come to be? Let's give us a story.
Yeah, well, like every story, it's a long story. So yeah, I got involved in hospitality since I was born actually, because I was raised in this Italian restaurant. My parents used to have this Italian restaurant since I was a child, and my uncles, cousins, and aunts as well. So I was really into this Italian family restaurant picture. And then at 16, I got my first official job in hospitality. And that job was in Italy. And then from there, I started my career. So I moved from several hotels in Europe, Latin America. Then I worked at tourism fairs, worked in all kinds of types of travel industry businesses. And then at 24, I decided to open an Italian restaurant with my brother. And the business is still on and very successful. And the thing is that when I was like about 27, 28, and it was 2017, I started to feel this idea I want to do more. And then I had this friend of mine who wanted to open a restaurant, and he asked me, "Hey, Antonio, can you help me out? You have a successful business." So I started consulting for him. And I always had the passion of, the psychology behind the guest experience. And that's why I started to develop myself even more and become a master in body language. So I found it useful to study body language to understand human emotions. And when you read some body language and you can see and detect it in someone else, then you are able to understand someone's emotion better. Mm-hmm. So then I started with GuestXInside, and my wife joined the company. And she has a background in high-end hotels, so 4- or 5-star hotels in management positions. And then we start consulting and doing the training. And we developed guest journeys for hotels and restaurants. I always call it guest journey, not customer journey, because we are in the guest business, what I always say in hospitality. Mm-hmm. So and then we align actually the training that we give to frontline staff to the guest journey that we develop.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fascinating. And, body language is always something that we talk about in hospitality, especially in frontline positions. Don't they say something like, isn't like 80% of communication done with tone and body language, and very minimal is actually done with the words?
Yeah, there's always this issue for what the percentage is of what we communicate through body language and what we
Hmm.
communicate verbally. So yeah, if we leave percentage aside, we can say that a large part of actually human communication goes through body language. And yeah, a lot has to do, for example, with first impressions.
Hmm.
When you screen someone and you don't even talk to him, you already made the impression of a person, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
this goes far beyond than just one person. You also have first impression of groups, and this is what happens, for example, when you enter a restaurant or a hotel lobby. And a lot always have to do with emotion. So a first impression of someone or a place will trigger a certain emotion in you or in your guest.
Hmm.
So that makes
And
it
now
really
more than
interesting.
ever, yeah, well, it is, yeah, especially now with people being covered by masks, and not just that, like, it's one thing to say that when you go into a restaurant or you go into a
Yeah,
hotel and the employee is standing there wearing a mask, you've got two things going on, right? You've got the employee trying to figure out how to do their job wearing a mask and probably having some sort of a plastic barrier in front of them.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so right away the verbal communication is muffled. And I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it. I have, where, even you just go to a coffee shop and they ask for your name, they can't hear you. You have to repeat it a few times. Forget about doing something a little more complicated. So, you've got that side on the employee side, that the guest gets frustrated with everything else that's going on in the experience of traveling to the restaurant or to the hotel. So body language training, um, I imagine that that's just so much more heightened and so much more in demand these days, because it's really a whole new set of skills that people have to not just develop, but have to be aware of how they're being perceived, because they can't talk about it anymore.
you're completely right. So yeah, it's, on one hand, it's a completely new set of skills, and on the other hand, it's a really, there are skills that are actually native that most people don't know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's a thing that we really started as well with my company GuestXInside. So we figure out, okay, what if we develop a certain customer journey? How can we align the behavior of the staff to a certain stage of the customer journey?
Mm-hmm.
So
So
even,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
please
Sorry.
go ahead. Yeah,
No,
all right, it's okay, no problem. Yeah, okay, it's my turn, right? So yeah, nowadays, of course, with the masks involved, there is this little extra that people need to know to trigger certain emotions in guests that, in good cases, of course, should be positive. And the question arises, okay, what can we do? So clients will call me now and say, okay, is there anything we can do to add value by changing the behavior of our frontline staff? And this, of course, has to go accordingly to the customer journey, right? Because that is the leading factor during the guest experience.
Mm-hmm.
So what can people do actually? And people should really be aware of their tone of voice. So spice the conversation up. Even you might have the shy people that usually, we're good with the smiling and people can see
Mm-hmm.
their face. And now the shyness, you cannot hide it anymore. So you really should, do something with your voice. And even if you smile behind the mask, I tried it myself. First of all, the smile will be seen, around your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you smile and try to say something while you're smiling, you will see that your voice goes up automatically.
Just
So that's
naturally.
really a thing. Yeah, that's completely natural, right? So that's again a thing that we already have inside us,
Mm-hmm.
but it should be sometimes trained and show to people to get this confidence about, okay, keep on smiling even behind the mask, because you don't think about it. You think, okay, the mask is covering my face, so I don't need to do anything with it. So a smile will give you much more. So the smile is coming back again, again, again. That is not new, but I want just to stress out this point. And then think about, yeah, expressive body language, right? Because we have not expressive body language, which you can see, for example, yeah, in more Northern European countries and perhaps also in North America, something like that. You're more reserved, right, in your body language. I'm not saying that you're inexpressive, but you're more reserved. If you go more to Southern cultures, then you see this expressiveness already coming. Right. And they're more used to use their hands and other parts as well to enforce the words that they are verbally saying. So you can think that, yes, frontline staff would want to use this expressiveness as well, just to enforce what they're saying, just to spice the conversation up. What I always say in this case is just show the palm of your hands. Because by showing the palm of your hands, you are not only saying, okay, I'm not harming you. You are saying, okay, I'm open to anything you have to say, but I'm also open to receive any questions you want to ask me. I have nothing to hide. I'm here to build what? To build trust. And in most cases, trust is one returning topic in a customer journey, right? When hotels or companies, are building a customer journey map, people used to ask me, okay, we want to build trust. We want to build trust. Okay, one of the things building trust is, okay, humans are great in building trust. Machines can do it, of course. With nowadays, technology is going far beyond as well, but humans are expert in building and destroying trust. And that's why nonverbal communication and body language gets important, because with some little changes, just to show an open posture, just by showing the palm of your hands, it seems really, really like a small thing, but in the end, it adds so much value.
I like the way you said that. And these gestures are, customers will come in and they'll make split-second decisions based off of these things that they're seeing, right? The smile behind the mask, the open palm, open expressive body language. If one of those is missing along the sequence of early interaction, that can I imagine that just destroys potentially the positive feelings that somebody might have when they walk into a business.
Yeah, and I believe it goes far. The experience actually now starts far before entering the hotel or restaurant, right? So if you take I always say to my clients, think about how your guest is feeling before entering the experience, right?
Right.
So ask yourself the question, how are guests feeling right now before entering your hotel or restaurant, right? Before they might want to visit the restaurant because they were hungry and just want to have a nice evening. And visiting a hotel for a vacation was because they wanted to, escape their daily life and just rest or relax. Just taking this as an example. Okay, now they used to come maybe a little bit stressed and tired, and now they will enter your facility in a total different state. And by knowing, for example, they will now feel maybe uncertain on some pace, and they might feel stressed, because if you feel uncertain, then you automatically feel stressed, right? So how, in this case, frontline staff, how the frontline staff will actually address the guest through verbal and non-verbal communication will mean a lot.
I think you're 100% right on that. Everybody's got a story. We used to use that in training in some of the luxury hotels I've worked in the past, where the sequence of traveling to a destination, if you have to get on an airplane or a train and you're scrutinized by security, and in non-COVID times, the process of getting from point A to B can be tough. It could be arduous. You start to deal with a lot of experiences. And so when you arrive at your destination, you're expecting almost some sort of like an oasis, right? Like a place to go. You finally made it. You went through this arduous journey. You're here and you want it to be perfect. And that perfection can sometimes make up for all of the difficult things that had happened along your journey to getting to your destination. And if anything is amiss when you get there, sometimes that problem can be amplified because of the experience the guest had in getting to your place in the first place.
Yeah, completely true. Exactly what you are saying right now. So yeah, my clients now ask me, okay, what should we do to the first thing they say, okay, what can we do to improve our customer journey or guest journey nowadays? What can we do? I always say to them, okay, then take a plane yourself, travel 3 or 4 hours to a certain other destination,
Mm-hmm.
and that you've not ever been yet. You should not have family or friends living in the area and then visit a random hotel. And through the process, write down all the emotional states that you encounter, and by asking yourself, how do I feel right now? And during the process of traveling to the destination.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that managers dealing with this kind of problems are finding it difficult now to add that extra value to the guest, or at least provide the basic to satisfy the basic expectations of the guest. I always tell them, okay, try to do the customer journey yourself, but visit another hotel. It doesn't matter. You should never visit your own hotel, because you will never see your own hotel through the eyes of your guest,
Mm-hmm.
because you know everything that is happening behind the scenes already.
Mm-hmm.
It is you know all the, even subconsciously, you will never judge your hotel like a guest will judge your hotel, right? Or restaurant. So
Exactly. Yeah.
in case of a hotel, I will say take a plane, do this 5 or 4 hours plane travel, and have you pick up with a taxi, and do it and see what is happening to you while you are welcomed by the frontline staff of that hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You will immediately notice what is important to you
Mm-hmm.
and what you will bring in for your own stuff.
Yeah, I think experiencing it from any question that you have the ability to experience what you're trying to solve on your own is that's going to give you the best indication of where to put your efforts. And all of this has been leading up to a question I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
We talked about kind of before the show started, or actually when we got connected a few weeks back, is that you recently actually went out and did that.
Yeah.
Right. You traveled from Netherlands to Italy and to experience this firsthand. I'd love to get your feedback and your perspective on what travel is like and what you learned while you were out there.
Okay, what I have learned from my travel, the way people act on this, COVID-19 restrictions is very much also cultural related. And I will get into this in a while. I will explain my journey, and my journey starts in Amsterdam. Airport started from there, and you feel this, cold place, and people are very, even with, people working there with a security check, the hostesses and stewards on the airfield were all really cold, distant. What can I say? Closed. If we have to talk in body language terms, a closed, position. They were friendly but distant. So you start really with this awkward feeling. Okay, I have to wear a mask. I have to sit in the plane, and what I'm actually feeling is, okay, I hope no one is feeling sick or ill, and I want to get to my destination as soon as possible. So once you board in the plane actually you don't notice that much. I have to say that the company which I traveled with took really well care of us once we were in the plane. And then you will arrive in Italy, and it's one of those countries which was really, really bad, right, in the first period of COVID-19 in Europe. So I expected to be, really hurt, really sad, but on the contrary, you immediately felt this cultural difference. People were wearing a mask, but because they were used to be more expressive, have this internal warmth already, this maybe informality of getting on with others that made you feel immediately at home. So that's another thing that managers might want to add to, training their staff, use some warmth as well, because this feeling of warmth that you can communicate through verbal and non-verbal cues will really make your guests feel welcome. So I immediately feel welcome, even though everyone was wearing a mask. In the Netherlands, the mask is not obligatory in public. In Italy, it is in crowded areas, and I believe now it was after 6 p.m.
Okay.
I arrived after 6 p.m., so the mask was obligatory. But in Italy, they made it feel like the mask was not even there. While in Amsterdam airport, it really felt like an obstacle.
Interesting.
And I believe that's really the cultural difference that you have. And in Italy, you even saw scenes like people kissing each other with a mask on. I mean, that went a bit too far, but it's typical Italian, it should not be there.
Yeah.
But maybe it shows something about the attitude. They were very respectful about distances and everything, but when you see a friend, they used to kiss each other with a mask on. It's funny, it's typical Italian, but I just want to just to stress out the point that you have, as a manager, you really have to consider the cultural differences, and if a guest comes in, how the culture has an influence on how they will expect to be treated during COVID-19. During this pandemic, right? So the thing that actually made me think while I was traveling in the airplane, I traveled through Rome and then I went south to Cagliari. It's in Sardinia, a beautiful island in the Mediterranean Sea. I started to think about, okay, I have family living in Italy, but if I would not have family, I would never travel to Italy right now or to any other destination. So if I hear people traveling to some destination, I say, okay, I'm really, even proud of them. You made it. It's great, because it's always a risk, right? You will start traveling with the idea, what if I get ill? And what if I have to do the quarantine? Or what if border closes? What if the airplane does not bring me home, right? With these thoughts, you will get to your hotel with these thoughts in mind if you finally decided actually to travel. And this is also one of the things why I want to send, the managers that actually manage a certain hotel, go and travel yourself, because they will experience it as well. Imagine a guest that comes into your hotel, right? And I thought about it during my travel, that booked your hotel, and then he hears like 10 days in of his 14 days holiday, and he hears, okay, you need to do a quarantine. You probably have encountered, a person who has the coronavirus. So you need to do the quarantine and stay in the hotel. What will the guest think, right? So during this travel, I believe they will be concerned about the money. Will I have the money to pay the hotel? Will I maintain my job at home and all these things? So actually hotels, especially hotels, because restaurant is a one-time visit, right? Very much easy. It's very destination based, right? Hotels are really it's difficult to add value in this case, but because by adding value would be, I want as a hotel add certainty, right, for the guest. What should I add to take away that scareness of being stuck in my hotel? Okay, in the ideal world, I would say, okay, you book your 2 weeks vacation with me, and you pay normally for your vacation, and should you be obliged in this case to stay here for quarantine, you just have to pay a basic rate for your room, right? Just not the full rate. But from of course a profit perspective, it is impossible for hotels. They will never be able to sustain it. I'm just talking about an ideal world. And then I was actually flying to Italy, and then I read in the plane about flying Emirates actually, that is actually doing this. So if you fly with Emirates, they will pay they will pay you about I believe about $100 for your quarantine period if you encounter this struggle.
Wow.
And they will even pay part of the expenses of your should you need to go to hospital, they will pay like part of your expenses as well.
That's
So
pretty
they're
incredible.
already, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, but I believe they have nothing to lose, and that's why they did it. And even they wanted to add value. But as a hotel, I also understand that you cannot simply do this. It's already difficult to survive, and yeah, how can
Right.
you add? Yeah,
Well, you bring up an interesting point because we have been living in this world for what, 6 months now, 5 months, 6 months,
yeah,
about everything being taken away.
yeah,
Travel is taken away, services are taken away, jobs are taken away, pay is
yeah,
taken away, right? We've been in this universe of that happening to everybody across the board. But you're talking, and I like the direction that you're going with this, because you're talking about finding ways to add value back, to put things back into the experience that have been taken away. Where is there room in the guest journey to start thinking about putting value back in? What maybe another way to look at it is, what do you think was taken away that shouldn't have been taken away, that hotels can look at now to try to rebuild?
yeah. Well, hotels should rebuild the confidence in the traveler, to reassure them. I think we have to go back to these basic values. So not very much about exceeding someone's expectation, but meeting someone's expectation
Mm-hmm.
before I even have the possibility to exceed someone's expectations.
Yeah.
So do not try to overdo, but really find out about what is adding value to your experience. So if you are in the position of making some assurance for a guest that in case of, quarantine, they can stay at their hotel for a lower rate, or maybe even when they leave, to have some kinds of refunds later on, or to find some way of letting them pay in rates after,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just coming up with ideas as we talk,
Mm-hmm.
but people need to be triggered to travel more than ever before.
Yeah.
And it is the
Yeah.
duty, I believe it's the duty of the hotel, of the hospitality professional, to find these triggers, right?
I like your idea of the triggers. In hotel experience design, and
Yeah,
I kind of just came up with that off the top of my head. But as
yeah,
you're thinking through what a great hotel looks like, a great hotel engages all five senses in a really
yeah,
interesting way. Nothing is ever really off in one area or the other. Nothing overpowers one over the other. There's this harmonious working together of, it
yeah,
smells good, it sounds
yeah,
good, it looks good, the food tastes good, it's clean, right? Everything just kind of comes together. But these trigger points, though, especially now when personal communication and personal bonding, I guess, in a business, and it's not just in a hotel, it's really just about any customer service business right now, is so much more powerful and so much more needed. Getting in the mind of your customer or of your guest is really important, because that's going to allow you, to your point earlier about getting out there and traveling and experiencing what your customer experience is, very important. But you also have to design your experience to try and meet the needs of as many people as that are coming in as you can. And you do that by getting in their head. So when you're working with clients, I'm curious to know, how do you train frontline staff to do that? How do you get in the head of a customer that's coming into a business, especially in the time that we're in now?
yeah. That's a really interesting question from you. So how do you get in the head of someone, right? That's always a process, and it goes over time. It's not that everybody in the frontline staff will have the ability to have that skill, because it really takes practice. It's not that you do one nonverbal communication training and then you are able to read the mind of your guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it goes, first of all, I would say take those natural talents that you have in your team, right? Because we all know that there are always a few natural talents, and make sure who are worth probably an 8 already, right? If you have to scale them, make sure you bring those to a 10. And to be completely honest, in this time, even if it's hard, right? Don't try to bring the 6 to an 8, because that's much more effort. So try to bring those 8 to a 10, right? And how can you do it? So they probably have already the talent of anticipating in normal circumstances the need of the guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will see when a guest is tired, and how will they see it? Because the guest shows it, right? With their attitude and their behavior. And even if you look at their history, you probably know that they come back from a long flight, or they did a nice excursion. And this natural talent just sees it, just feels it. And what is great about natural talents, they do their homework.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, coming back to your question, or what can you do? What I recommend is extensive body language training. Really get into it. You have this type of body language training which really focus on micro expressions, which is a discipline which micro expressions are expressions that last less than a second and are in the, you can see them in the face of a person. Now, yeah, part of the face is covered, right? So you miss so many clues, right? Because many of the micro expressions actually happen in the mouth area, nose area, right? But most of them also occur in the eye area. So you can really go and see what the real emotion is, but it takes time. So yeah, I would tell managers to find an expert to help them out and train those natural talents to be even more onto it. And this way they will be able to really get into the minds of their guest in the moment, right then and there. And then again, take part of your team and tell them to engage in as many experience and guest experience as they can during a given time. So all the travel that you did before COVID is old. It is like you're reading a history book.
I like that. It's so true. Everything from training to numbers to trends, none of it.
Yeah.
You can learn a little bit from the past, right? But you've got to look at things in a different way now.
You got to look at, and especially for the coming time, right? So it's about now. We don't care what is happening next month or within the next year. It's about making the profit now. Time is ticking, right? That's the truth. We cannot, go beyond that. So encourage your staff to engage in guest experiences themselves. And what I always do is, once you get, what I was told during my trainings is, I take people outside their hotel or a restaurant, and I tell them, okay, engage in this experience, engage in that experience, and write down, how do you feel? What are people saying to you, and how do you feel when people are saying that to you? So I will tell those natural talents that you have in your team, go and experience some other hotels. Go to the 5-star hotel, but also go to the 4-star hotel, and also go to the Airbnb. Because it's really funny to say, but what I saw in Italy, back to my travel again, is that the larger the hotel is, the more difficulties they have. And even though it's a 5-star high-end hotel with amazing, facilities, they were scoring great on all, TripAdvisor, Google, you name it. They are losing it against smaller accommodations.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's interesting. It's also a thing that you might want your frontline staff to know. Because if you know that smaller accommodations are doing better than you, then probably there is something that you can take out from that experience and bring it to your larger resort, to your 5-star hotel, right? Or your 4-star hotel.
I think I actually really like that idea. It's about well, to your point earlier, is going out and experiencing what's going on out
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
And if
yeah,
you see in these smaller, more intimate environments tend to be doing better on many different levels, a lot of different metrics, how do you distill that more intimate experience and bring that into a larger operation, which can be really hard to do. And you can look at this in one of two ways. Some of the larger, well, every hotel, but a lot of the larger hotels have had services and staffing scaled back to such a degree that,
yeah,
you've got a front desk agent who's doing literally everything in the lobby. They're assisting with luggage. They're acting as a concierge. They're the phone operator. They're taking reservations. They're dealing with walk-ins. They're doing all of the accounting work that needs to get done. I mean, you name it, they're stuffing envelopes for mail. They're doing everything. So it can be really hard to be as engaged in an experience as you need to be able to pick up on these clues with the guest to tailor your service for the interaction, right? You can look at it that way. You can also look at it as, there are fewer guests traveling now, and making sure that every guest that comes into my hotel has as exceptional an experience as they can is hopefully down the road going to pay much more dividends for me, whether that's in better online reviews, whether that's in creating bigger fans of your hotel or your company, or it's providing value for people in a different way, making great experiences for them, or acknowledging special occasions, whatever those things are. This is the time to put the time and energy in to elevating not just that experience, but that expertise in people that work on the front line.
Yeah, completely true. What I was thinking is about, okay, why are these smaller hotels, or in this case Airbnbs as well, are doing better than larger hotels? Is one of the reasons is probably because the guest is closer to the owner. So what happens with the big hotels, right? Okay, I'm staying in Hilton in New York, for example, and the problem there probably now is that the owner is too far away from my point of view, a guest point of view. And when I book instead a smaller hotel, boutique hotel, usually the owner is present there, right? So I'm not saying I really should do some more research on it. It might evoke the feeling in myself that he will take care better of me as a human instead of a number, because the lines are shorter, right? The bridge is not so far. And what was happening is that staying in a smaller place is that there will not be so many people.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly right.
Yeah, people all of a sudden we are afraid of people, right? That's how it goes.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. Hopefully nobody coughs in the lobby and then everybody just scatters.
Sometimes you are so afraid, and that's a really interesting factor. In this, especially in high-end hotels, and the bigger they are, and sometimes formality actually obstructs the guest experience, right? I always say the more formal hotel is, the more distant the relationship is between employee or frontline staff and the guest. I once was in Dubai in this amazing hotel, one of the best hotels in the world, and I finally got the chance to talk to one of the frontline staff employees, and I told them, why is nobody smiling here? It's one of the best hotels in the world, right? Why is no one of you smiling here? Because the training that they've received was basically just about formality, and you cannot do anything wrong. And what happens when people tell you that you cannot do anything wrong? Then you close, right? You just focus on the task instead of the guest. So the employees were so afraid to do anything wrong that they forget actually to provide service. And when you are so afraid to do anything wrong, you are not yourself anymore. And what happens is that you lose authenticity. And authenticity is something that you usually find in smaller accommodations. I'm saying usually because it's easier, you're closer to the owner of a certain place, and usually the owner of a place is more open to authenticity because he's not bounded by a script. He's free to be himself, instead of being in a 4 or 5 star high-end hotel.
I like what you said there with authenticity. And we've always said that great service doesn't just because you do something really well the same way all the time doesn't mean that you are, number one, providing great service, or that you're providing a connection to people, right? It's not authentic. You're robotically going through a checklist of standards that you have to hit in every interaction every single time. And that for a long time has been a point of pride in branded hotels in particular, restaurants too, because you could stay in any city as long as you were staying in a building that had that particular flag on it. You knew you were going to get the same experience. And I understand the need to do that, because a part of having a brand is that it is standardized, right? Is that you do know what people are going to get. But it's really hard to standardize connection with people. That level of engagement and authenticity, I like that word so much, is something that needs a lot of energy put into training people how to do it, to help them develop that intuitive side of their skill set.
True. And then if we can go back to what you said, is the people in bigger hotels have so many other duties right now. So, okay, I was front desk manager, and all of a sudden I have to do the housekeeping as well, right? And I have to check in the guests. So where do I find the time to add value, right? But on the other hand, if we see this happening in a smaller hotel, what do we say? Look at her. She first did the check-in and now she's cleaning the room. So sweet, right or not? But if we see it in a 4 or 5 star hotel, you will say, look at them, right? In a different way. They're cutting on their personnel, right? So it's, that's because there's a difference in expectation. Yeah. And that's a different also in how we have seen things till now. Maybe in some cases guests also need to be re-educated, because simply things will not be the same for the coming couple of months or years, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, putting yourself in the shoes of a supervisor or a department manager, somebody who has to take everything that we're talking about today and somehow operationalize it, right? Put it into practice with their team one way or another. What are some examples or some ways that somebody in a position to influence this that we're talking about today can do that? Are there training exercises that they could do? Are there examples of ways of talking with their staff or places that they can go to start to move the needle on it?
Yeah, okay. First of all, of course, I will suggest just dive into some other experiences with your staff. Do it as an exercise and then come together and discuss it. How did you feel? What did you want to achieve while you were engaging in the experience? So do that and, create a workshop around it. There's nothing wrong with doing it, and don't do it in your own hotel, of course. Just visit the hotel next door. Why not? Or a restaurant, or take a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I'm just saying anything. And then exercises that you can do are all in relation to nonverbal cues, of course. Think about focusing on eye contact. Just train yourself on getting into eye contact, and during a conversation, what you want to have, if you want to be perceived as a warm person, right, and welcoming, is around 60-70%. Don't do too much, otherwise people will think about you like a creep and they are staring at them, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then just train yourself in open gestures. So remove anything that you don't need on the table or in front of you, and just be there. And what we usually do during the training is just have someone staying in front of the group and just let him talk, using open gestures, accompanying what he's saying with his hands, showing the palm of the hands. And another great thing is invest in small talk. Even if people even if the frontline staff might not have the time to do small talk, encourage them to do the small talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing is ask questions. People will love you if you ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes you never talk to someone, you just ask questions and they will tell you, hey, Adam, he's a nice guy. You never talk to him, you just ask questions, right?
Exactly.
People start liking you as long as you show interest.
That's right.
Yeah, then another important aspect can be, and that might be a kind of difficult thing to put in place, but what we do during trainings is to video record what you learn. Mm-hmm. So it's like watching yourself in a mirror or hearing yourself in an interview or in a podcast like this. When you hear yourself back, you think, oh, what a strange voice do I have, right? And you ask yourself, actually, do people listen to me and what do they think about me? And the same is actually with nonverbal communication. The first time you try to be more expressive, it doesn't feel natural if you don't have it yourself, right?
Exactly.
When you use your hands or try to spice the conversation a little bit up with your tone of voice, it feels like, you're Sven. I'm not an actress or an actor, right? That's what you think. You need to get used to this new idea of yourself, and the best way is to actually record yourself while you are doing this. And when you see yourself back, then you get used to yourself in this new role.
I like that. It's actually, well, I mean, it is your acting to some extent, right? Yeah. You're putting on a different persona. You're going to do this a little bit differently than you normally would in day-to-day with friends.
Yeah.
But that's why we say you're on stage when you're in front of house.
Yeah, true. That's why you're on stage, and that's why you can be authentic and be yourself even when you are on stage, but just leveling and just by adjusting yourself on the guest that you have in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And you have to see it as a role play again, but then in real life with some small adjustments, which are actually very useful also in your normal life, in daily life. It will really add something if you take care of your appearance in your appearance in a different way, on the way you talk and the way you spice up your conversations with the use of your hands, with nudging, with an open posture. People will really perceive you as a warmer person. And I think warmth is what guests really looking for now. You want to go away from home, but you want to feel the certainty of home. And what better way to feel the certainty of home if you have a warm and welcoming person waiting for you. And don't forget to use your name. I really want to stress out this. Use your name. Introduce yourself. You are not a company, you are a human being. And people want to connect on one side with the company, but in these days, we really want to even connect with other humans. Even with distance, we can do it just by telling them my name. And you can always, what I always say, my name is Antonio. So what is your name? Don't be afraid to ask names. It makes things easier, and then you are leveling as well.
Right. Yeah. I like that. You're in one sense, through this training process, we're asking people sometimes to really change who they are and how they interact with the world. And that's a difficult thing to do. And you're certainly not going to do that in one training session. So how do you advise, and how do you work with clients on keeping this alive? What's the process to turn the cruise ship slowly, as it were, to make sure it sticks?
Yeah, well, you have to make it fun and do it step by step. So today we're doing this and you are doing that, and then we come together and what have you learned? You have to work at this like you are in a work group, and it has to get back on a daily basis. What I say is bring that warmth in your team back again, and it starts with you. And it's not about the training, it's about the culture as well that you want to install in your group. What I say is eat together. ask about how everybody is doing, the struggles, if somebody is afraid of anything. And a great thing is always say eat together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
If it's possible, or at least partly, have a meal together, because it's during that short moment that you really get to know the person in front of you.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that.
we are. Yeah. And another thing that I say amongst colleagues, put your phone away. Be interested in the person who is working with you, and also as a manager, encourage it. And bring this training aspects back every day. Do it step by step. So say today we are doing the eye contact game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for example. And tomorrow we are training the open gesture. So, and then slowly it will grow, and then it becomes natural. You have to make it a habit of it. So today we're going to show, once we have checked in the guest, when we show them the open palms, right, of our hands, and we show them with open hands where the elevator is, instead of pointing with a finger, right? And next time when a guest comes in, I will raise my hands toward the guest, and I will tell them with open palms as well, please come in, bringing them in with my the way I express myself. So I'm bringing them in with my voice, I'm inviting them in, but I'm accompanying it with my hands as well. Include them, embrace the guest. And that is an exercise that you can do. It sounds really, really easy, but think about it, how many times it actually happens to you. Never. Mostly people are just behind the reception, or behind the desk, you don't see it. And think about it, is a desk anything you still would want? I mean, then you will have even more part of the body covered of the service provider. Maybe you should go around for a while, even if you're not used to it, even if it's not your hotel policy, but maybe you have to change a bit.
I think what you're talking about, it may seem common and normal, but the fact is that you can go into almost any hotel or almost any restaurant or almost any store, and you won't experience these things. You won't experience open hands, welcoming people in, open hand pointing, body language training, everything we're talking about today. So when you put time and energy into this, it's memorable. It may seem basic, but people don't get this on their day-to-day when they're out there in the world. So it can really make you stand out.
Yeah. In that case, you're very lucky, what you say. I mean, just with some small adjustment, you can make the difference, and it will not cost you anything. You can make a nice game of it. In some cases, I had this set of cards prepared, and I provided them to a manager, and I said, okay, pick a card every day. And you say, okay, today we will train, the tone of voice. And that day, it's the tone of voice day, right? It sounds so easy, but basically, because of there are so many other procedures that that are more important, usually are used to be more important than just training the tone of voice, that people will not take time for it. But it's such a small gesture which will add so much value, especially in these times. Especially in this time, people in this time just want to be treated as humans. Don't forget it, even more than before. So if you think from that perspective, and if you see the guest as a human being, you will automatically adjust already in some ways to be a more warmer person as well.
Yeah. I have to ask you, what are you looking forward to when all of this is behind us, when life gets back to whatever our next normal is? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, well, actually, of course, I look forward to travel again. And I thought about this question, about what I'm looking forward to. I think I'm looking forward, to just to travel without being afraid. And people always say the new normal here and there. Okay, now it's a time we have to adjust. But I believe that if anyone looks really into himself or herself, we actually can't wait the normal to be back again, right? With all the struggles that we had before. And of course, there will be some improvements, but I hope that the travel industry will be normal again, as in some cases, of course, as it was before, with hopefully a bit more, some improvements, of course, and some lessons that we have learned. I hope to meet you in person one day. So let's say that when this is over, we will, do maybe another podcast and a live show and visit you in Seattle.
You know what? You don't have to convince me to come to Amsterdam to do a live show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, we can meet up in Italy.
Even better.
That's even better. Yeah.
Help with my Italian lessons. That sounds great.
Yeah. Great.
Hey, Antonio, if people want to get in touch with you or learn more about what you're doing, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, the best place will be LinkedIn.
Okay.
That's actually the best place. I'm on every day actually, and you find me by typing my name, Antonio Pibia. And just write me, and that's the best place. I can give you my email as well, but LinkedIn is a platform that I really like.
Perfect.
And that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We'll link to your profile in the show notes. If anybody wants to find it, you'll find it right down in the show notes. Easy to get to.
Great.
Yeah, good. Hey, Antonio, this has been fantastic. Thanks for being on the show.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, take care out there.
It was great, actually. I was really excited. It was my first, podcast show. So yeah.
Really,
it was great, actually. Yeah. Thank you so much. I always tell people, just be yourself, and if you're new to something, just tell it, and that's the way you should act with guests as well.
Yeah, I once heard
this beautiful sentence, and it was a waiter of the Hyatt Hotel in San Diego, and he told me a nice sentence that I want to leave you with, and hopefully if there are people listening that lost their job, or are not secure of their job or might lose it, I hope they will find courage. And this guy told me that every day there is new life, and there's a new day, and there are new opportunities every day. So that's what he told me, and this sentence always stayed with me. And it was a nice waiter, and he did actually the breakfast buffet in this Hyatt of San Diego, and he always stayed with me. So every day, new life, new opportunities every day.
That is no better place to leave it.
Yeah, that's great.
And a good ending point. Well, listen, stay safe out there, and I hope to meet you in person someday soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam.
All right, take care.
Ciao.
Thanks everyone for listening to the show. If you want to get in touch with Antonio, you can find him on LinkedIn, or just head over to the show notes where I've linked to his profile. As for us, you can always find past episodes, other resources about hotel operations, and more about what we do as a company at knowinghospitality.com. Look, I really hope you enjoyed today's show. Again, if you haven't had a chance to leave a rating or a review, please do so. It just helps us put together better content, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Proven Principles Podcast with Adam Knight. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. The podcast is brought to you by Knowing Hospitality, a full-service hotel management company that puts your performance first by rethinking the management model. Visit knowinghospitality.com to learn more. Until next time.